Welcome to the first video on formatting fundamentals. In this video, I'll be walking through one of the most basic formatting skills in Excel, how to set up a spreadsheet generally. When you first open a workbook or create a new tab in Excel, it'll come to you with preset formatting for things like font, font size, grid lines, column width, and zoom. Unless that preset is exactly what your firm uses, spoiler alert, it rarely is, we want to be able to adjust the formatting to something in line with our firm's or personal style. That will be the focus of this video, setting up the overall spreadsheet regardless of what we're actually going to use the sheet for. This means that in this video we're going to establish a font and font size, remove grid lines, change the zoom, change the width of column A, add a header and subheader to our worksheet, and then finally, I'm going to show you how to change the name of the tab. Please note that for this video, I'll be using my mouse rather than using Excel shortcuts. Different operating systems have access to different shortcuts, and because I want this video to be as broadly usable as possible, I'm going to focus on showing things without any quick keys. If there's anyone who knows shortcuts that they don't see me using, please resist the urge to scream at me in the comments. The whole goal here is accessibility. Alright, let's jump in. The first thing we're going to do is change the font and the font size for the entire worksheet. To do that, we first need to select all of the cells in the workbook. We do that by clicking on the arrow in the upper left corner of the spreadsheet that sits at the intersection of row 1 and column A. Now that we've done this, the next thing we'll do is change the font and the font size. Starting with the font, as you can see, the document is currently using Calibri. To be clear, this is a fine format, but for my purposes I want it to be Arial, so we're going to change it. I do that by selecting the box with the font name and typing in the font that I want. You could also do this by clicking on the drop-down arrow which shows all of the font options, but that's unneeded if you know the name of the font that you want already. Now that we've changed the font type, we can change the font size. To do that, we click on the number directly to the right of the font type. As you can see, the current font size is 11 point. I want to change it to 10 point, something that I think looks nicer and fits better when copying Excel data into memos. All I need to do to change that is click on the box with the font size, type in 10, and hit enter. Now that that is done, we've changed the font and the font size, and the next step is to remove grid lines. The best way to do this is to go to the View section of the ribbon, the green part at the top of Excel, and then unclick the box that says Grid Lines. What some people do here instead is change the cell color of all the cells to white. This works, but can make the data look odd when pasting it into a memo, so we're going to avoid it here. The method we're using is cleaner, and that's just going to allow us to remove the grid lines without actually changing the cell color unless it's something we want to do later on. Alright, now that we've done that, we can go to the next step, which is changing the zoom for our worksheet. Doing this is pretty easy. All we do is click on the 100% in the bottom right corner of the screen. Doing this will open a window that lets us either select a preset zoom or we can enter our own. Use whatever zoom works best for your eyes, but I'll generally default to 115%. Okay, we're almost done, but before we start typing anything, something I do want to do is change the width of column A. Personally, I always like to have a buffer column between my first populated column and the edge of the worksheet. Rather than just have a full column of space empty, I'm going to shrink the column width of column A. To do that, I'll start by clicking on the A in column A. Once the column has been selected, I right-click on the column and go to the option in the drop-down that says Column Width. This will open a window where the current width of the column is listed. The number you'll likely see is 8.43, as that is the standard width of a column in Excel. To have the amount of space I'm comfortable with, I'm going to change this number to 2, and then I can hit Enter. Okay, we can now title the header and subheader in the spreadsheet. Generally, the header will be the same for every tab of a workbook, and the subtitle will be more sheet specific. Since this workbook is focused on week 0, we'll have that be the title. The subtitle can be Worksheet Setup, the same as the tab name. Generally, the subheader will be the same as the tab name, or a slightly expanded version if we ran out of text in the tab name. Now that we've entered the text, we can highlight both cells and bold them. Headers and subheaders should be bolded. With that, we've set up our spreadsheet. The last thing to do is change the tab name. Now, I've already done that here, but if you ever wanted to change the name of a tab, all you need to do is click on the text in the tab name, and it will let you retitle it. This concludes this video. In the next few videos, we'll focus on other elements of formatting in Excel.